Egypt, Uruguay.
Interesting one. Russia, I think, will be delighted with the group. I think, most teams, most countries there that were in pot one, I think will be happy with the groups. It's not thrown anything up of any kind of real difficulty for anybody. But if you're the host nation there, I think it's not going to go any better than that. Uruguay will be a tough game, but they would expect to at least qualify from that group.
And you're happy for the Russians because you need a host to do okay. I remember back when you South Africa when they had the world, you want to at least come out of the group stage. So I agree with David. I think they will be delighted. But there are some Egypt we talked about could be a possible threat there. But starting with the Saudi Arabia, maybe get a good win. But Saudi Arabia also doing well. So and I think on the FIFA ranking, Russia is around 63, 64 or something. So they don't have the best of teams.
I'm just thinking what the media are going to write about tomorrow, because they always like a group of death, don't they? And they haven't got one here. It's the most equal groups I've ever known. I mean, it's quite remarkable that you could make a case that all 32 teams are quite satisfied with what they've got.
Yes. Yeah, potentially.
Potentially, but if you are from Morocco, when you get Spain and Portugal, they won't be super happy. But if you be in the next group there with Spain and Portugal,
But looking at Group A again, so Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Uruguay. I mean, unbelievable for certainly the region here to have Egypt and Saudi Arabia pitted against each other.
And I think they've got a chance because, you mentioned the fact that the host nation, you always look to them as possibly being one of the favourites because for one reason they are the host nation. I mean, but this Russian side, not a good team.
No.
So I think Saudi Arabia and Egypt will relish the opportunity of, pitting themselves against the likes of Russia and Uruguay. I think Uruguay are the strongest team in this group.
Yeah, of all the countries that are in there that might be most satisfied, it is Uruguay. Maybe that's why the coach didn't bother going to the draw.
No, exactly.
That's fine.
He knew straight away. He talked to Putin. But Saudi Arabia, being in the World Cup, I think this is the fourth times before, or this is the fourth times they're in there, and there's some decent players playing in the league there. So I think this is a quite funny group. Some good games will come up, and the first game, Saudi Arabia Russia, is brilliant.
But Uruguay are actually the highest rank out of that lot, so they're ranked about 21.
Oh, they will be very happy with that group.
Yeah. They tend to do quite well, don't they, in World Cups?
Yeah.
They're always difficult to beat, and Suarez, ex-Liverpool, Salah, ex-Liverpool. Any Saudi Arabian players ex-Liverpool?
Work on it. Maybe between now and June. On to Group B. Well, this is potentially, as we've said, we think most of the sides are happy. Look, there was one big-ish. Someone had to draw Spain, and Portugal being neighbours makes it a little bit more interesting.
It does, but then you look at the way that the group's formed, and you would expect both teams to qualify. And I think that's the only thing that you can look at is, who's going to finish first and who's going to finish second in some groups, really. And equally, I think it's quite nice in that half of the draw that whether you come first or second, that you're going to be playing one of those teams. You wouldn't want to be playing Uruguay, fair enough, but in that Group A as well, you'd fancy yourself your chances against that to get through the last 16 into the quarterfinals. Good that they play in the first game. The pair of them will like that. They get it out of the way, and they've still got the other two to be able to
Having
go
said that, I think that is good for Spain, Portugal now, when they don't know where the other games will go. I think it's good to have them in the first game as well. Yeah. Because for a neutral, that will be a good game. For, let's say, Morocco beat Iran 2-0, and the next game you play it. So then Portugal or Spain, who will lose. Yeah. So I think it's a great news that they're playing each other early. But as you're saying, they still can control it. But for a neutral, I think that is a good game.
Carlos Queiroz is the manager of
Iran.
Yes, that's right.
And he'll relish the opportunity of playing against Portugal.
Yep, absolutely.
It's an interesting one. I think every group is, there's great interest, I think, and very equal in a lot of the teams involved in them. I think Spain, it's a bit like Group A. I mean, Russia are the seeded team, but I think Uruguay was stronger, are stronger. And I'd say the same about Group B. I think Spain are not the seeded team, but they're stronger than Portugal.
And they have been at the World Cup 4 times as well, so they've got a bit of culture around them. The first team to qualify from Asia, Iran. So first team to qualify from Asia, so they had a good qualification group, so shouldn't be underestimated in this group.
Do you think Spain have got a point to prove, bearing in mind how poor they were in Brazil?
Well, I think that the Brazil team, you looked at it on paper, was still very, very strong, but it was coming to the end of its cycle. You looked at what they'd done in the European Championships and World Cups previous to that. It was coming to the end of its cycle. It's changed a little bit. There's still some experience in there, but obviously they've got more players that have come through that weren't in that really, really successful Spanish side. I don't think they'll look at the last World Cup and think that they've got a point to prove. I think it's a case of, well, we're not favourites anymore, but we're still a very, very strong nation.
In qualification for the World Cup, they probably looked at who they had to face. Italy being the most formidable side. They overcame Italy quite comfortably, and they won the group quite comfortably. So they'll look at this and think, well, Portugal are the strongest there. I think Spain can have a good World Cup.
And it's also, if it's right, as we said here, that Group B will meet Group A in the next step.
Yes.
So if you come to the last 16, it's a decent draw also to get Group A when you have a look at it. So Spain and Portugal could quite easily go to the last 8, and then it's all about on the day, the tight games, we know.
That's how the group finished 4 years ago, well, 3 years ago. Spain not qualifying with Holland and Chile. So on to Group C. Group C is France, Australia, Peru, who beat New Zealand in that playoff match, and Denmark as well. And the strange thing is for Australia is obviously they're qualified, and then Ange Postecoglou leaves, and so they come into the World Cup without a manager. Look, to the draw without a manager. Honduras it was 0-0 in the first leg.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's game. But I think for we talked about Åge Hareide, our a friend for Denmark, the head coach of Denmark. I think he'd be happy that he will get a great team. He will get France. That will be a good game. He starts the first game now against Peru. Could be a good start for them. But the South Americans, it's a tough group for Denmark anyway. But I think France will be happy with that group.
I think for somebody like Denmark, it's always going to be a tough group. But equally, I don't think there would be. They'll still fancy the chances there. They'll think to themselves, we have got a good chance of going through to the last 16. I think that's what Trevor was making up before. But most countries will look at it and think, we're in with a chance here. Yeah.
France? Happy?
Well,
overall,
on paper they should win that group.
Yes.
I wouldn't say comfortably. I think it's unfair to say anyone's going to win it comfortably because there's such evenness now amongst teams, and it'll come back to what we're discussing prior to that draw, that often it comes down to a single moment from an attacking player who is the match winner.
France got finalists? Are they good enough to join the likes of, if we're saying Germany, Brazil?
It depends on obviously how it works. I mean, you can get
where they end up.
You can be fortunate to get a nice little ride through to the semi-final. What did I say before? I think Argentina, Germany, Spain, and Germany?
Brazil.
To two German teams.
Yeah.
No,
that would be my...
Yes.
But France, but I think that we underestimated a bit these when they did the A1, B3, B4 kind of draw. They are major in here. Because if you see, for example, Australia, they will think, well, we have an outside chance to be second in this group, but in the first game they meet France. So you try to avoid that, and you talk about Spain and Portugal, they meet in the disadvantage, advantage on that. But Australia, they won't fancy that game. I mean, if we'll tip now, we'll say France will win 2 or 3-0. We will do that, wouldn't we?
Yes.
And then in the other game, Peru or Denmark maybe have 3 points, and then you are far behind after the first game.
I think it's always dangerous to do that, though, because you're going into a World Cup and everybody's so up for it that first game that you find a little bit extra in your performance anyhow. So
we take it for granted now that every team are going to be well organised, but there won't be a more hard-working or a more athletic team in the competition than Australia, and they will make it difficult for anyone.
Well,
whoever is in charge, whoever is in charge,
Crocodile Dundee or someone. But they need a battle, because it depends how good organised they need to have that passion.
Final draw. Please get in touch with us. #BINWCD. BINWCD. in the company of Trevor Francis, Jan-Åge Fjortoft and David Platt. And so on to Group D. You like this one, Jan? Argentina, Iceland, Croatia, Nigeria.
I teach you a bit about history. The best Norwegians for 1,000 years ago, they went out to the ships and they went west. Where did they go? To Iceland. So all the best Norwegians ended up in Iceland, and the rest are going to go last. So these are the Vikings. There are 300,000 people living there. What do they want? They want the cracker. They want one of the best teams. And in the first game, they meet Argentina. They meet Lionel Messi. They will love this draw. It's a very hard group, but they have beaten Croatia before in the qualification. And Nigeria, it's a good African team, but still, for them, this is a dream come true for them, because they don't want to have an easy draw. They want one of the best.
Do you think Iceland have got an opportunity to go through from that group?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. Because, again, we now talked about match winners and good organised, but these are good organised. They know what they can. They have these kind of players that are not the superstars. Have to put the unit together.
How much will their experience in the Euros help them?
They will help to the enthusiasm and the spirit going in there. The whole nation will stand behind them. Not many people, so they will all be up for it. So,
such a contrast in styles of football too between Argentina and Iceland, because Iceland, they're very dependent on their organisation and work rate, and especially their set pieces. They've got the long throw in, whereas Argentina, along with Brazil, are probably the most technical teams in this competition. And you can imagine like one or two big long throws coming in against Argentina. They will not relish anything like that.
Mm. I think this, if there are not many group of death, but I think this is the most interesting football-wise group somehow, because there are different kind of style. Croatia is a bit like the individual skill as well, isn't it?
Well, Croatia, I often think you can draw parallels with Belgium in terms of the players that they have. I mean, I think Croatia have got some outstanding individuals, yet they don't seem to sort of perform at the highest level, but this may just be their year. But it's actually, when you look at this, it's a difficult group for them to get out of, because Nigeria are a useful side.
Well, they just played Argentina. Admittedly, it was only a friendly, but they beat Argentina.
I think the majority of the African sides are very, very physical, very, very strong. And they've got some athletic players in their side. So, when you look at it, like you say, it's not a foregone conclusion. You'd fully expect Argentina to qualify from it, but who that second team's going to be, it could be any one of the three quite easily.
The national coach in Nigeria is my sport director for Eintracht Frankfurt, and typically from South America and Africa, Dreaw, he is a guy, and same with the national coaches in South America. They have had a lot of he had Gabon, he had Burkina Faso, he had Niger, so they know strength and weakness of their team.
Carry on talking, I'm watching this game if you don't mind.
So Alex,
did you go to that game?
No, he had to pay for his ticket.
Couldn't get a freebie.
Yeah, Alex Iwobi
scoring a couple. We'll be getting two, and Iheanacho of Leicester getting one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What a turnaround.
Yeah. So on to Group E next, which is Brazil, Switzerland, Costa Rica, and Serbia.
It's rather like the group that we've just spoken about, really. Brazil take them out, they'll qualify. That's what we'd all expect.
Yeah.
Who's going through out of those three? Could be any one of those three. So if you're one of those three countries, you're thinking, well, we can get through this as long as we play well. We've got a real good chance. You take Brazil out of the equation, we do have a good opportunity to get through.
Do you know some of the teams in Pot 2, they were extremely strong.
Yeah.
With respect to Switzerland, I don't quite see them as one of the strongest.
They were good in qualification. I mean, they were unfortunate to have to go through the plaplayoffs, weren't they?
I know, they just lost the last game against Portugal, wasn't it? So don't try and trip me up.
I would never do that.
But it's a bit, I think that is, again, it's a bit like Belgium and Switzerland. You are so dependent, like small countries, dependent on a good generation. To be fair to Iceland as well, they've had a great generation now. So small countries like ourselves, we were third in the under 21 3-4 years ago, but they didn't make the next step.
Yes.
So teams like Switzerland with Xhaka and Shaqiri, they just need them to blossom at the same time somewhere.
About time we saw a South American side win the World Cup. You think Brazil Their last win was back in South Korea, Japan, 2002.
But
How long ago this looks?
All they can, the best keeper in the tournament, and then he does this mistake. Kind of ruined it a bit, didn't it? I don't know if you remember that final, but Germany were a better team in that final, and Brazil ended up winning. Deservedly over the tournament.
Good smile.
And also in that group, Costa Rica. So Brazil won it 5 times more than anyone else. Let's go to the list of some of the other winners. Okay, Group F then. Germany, the holders. Germany with Mexico, Sweden, South Korea, or the Republic of Korea, as we should call it. What do we think? Are we taking Germany out of that one and doing the same again with the next 3?
Yeah, but I with no disrespect to them, I'd probably take South Korea out of that and say it's going to be between Mexico and Sweden. Sweden, having qualified by beating the Italians, will be quite buoyed by that group as well, I think.
So Mexico were very impressive in the qualification, but for Germany again, talking about the F2, got them under control. They played them in the first game, so they kind of get a 2 best team maybe, and Sweden will be an outsider. They beat Italy, a very collective kind of team. Best player probably is Marcus Berg, and I think he's playing here in Arabia, doesn't he? Around here, without Zlatan, and then they will have an outside chance, but not more.
No, I can only see Germany being the team that's going to, go
Anyone
through.
take any points off Germany in that qualification? In
Germany.
I don't know enough about Mexico, but you never underestimate them. They always produce, talented footballers. I think the top 2 are the 2 that go through for me, Germany and Mexico. I mean, I do think that Germany have got an outstanding chance of retaining this trophy.
They can, but we know the history of Germany. They get better and better as long as the tournaments go. So they could let a point here and there, but I agree with you. There is no chance that they won't go out to that group.
Well, they also have the best squad. Not only you might think they've got the best first 11, but actually Joachim Löw will take the best squad.
I believe so. And not only the best squad. Sometimes when you do have such a wealth of players that all could play in the starting 11, it's keeping that mentality, that personality, the personalities that within all going forward in the same direction with the same objective of winning the World Cup. And I believe that the Germans will do that.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that, when you look at the 23-man squad, they're going to be short of attacking options. Obviously, they're going to have to sort of put enough attacking players in there, but that's not their strengths, the strikers. I mean, you look at the top teams in Germany, Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, they've got foreign strikers.
Yeah.
But they could, I think, and there's a bit weakness of Germany as well, is the centre half, Boateng and Hummels. There are a lot of injuries. Hummels, there is a reason why he went to Bayern Munich. I think Hummels is not the best going backwards. He's not a good defender, but he's a great player, if you know what I mean. He's very good for people to see, oh, he's doing well going forward. But I remember I made stats on him, and he's involved in a lot of goals against, and sometimes you see Bayern Munich when they're getting weaker, when they're getting closer to the final, Hummels is involved somehow.
You know the Germans more than what we do. Would you say that the coach, Joachim Löw, more or less knows in his mind at this moment what he would like his starting lineup?
Yes, I think Joachim will know.
Because sometimes when you have so many players at your disposal, it does create a little bit of confusion.
Yeah, but he's been good at that, and he's been also very loyal to his players. So when players have been out injured, Podolski was always around, although he was struggling, and then he gave him something. Götze, as we saw, getting the winning goal, he said, you will be around, take care, just get fit. So I agree on that. That is Joachim Löw. But it's easier when you have so many players, because it's a challenge for him to have all these players going in, but somehow they found a culture that they accept that. This togetherness in Germany is unbelievable, but because the other years, like the stories back in '74 where people had a fight, they end up winning the World Cup, but still this German team of this generation, there is an amazing togetherness in the team.
So that is Group F. We've still got a couple more groups to go. We'll do that very shortly. Also have Alex Leduc here with a news roundup from the day. We're back with more in just a minute. Brown has caught up with the Belgium manager, Roberto Martinez.
You need an agent?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
20%.
Yeah.
Fine.
Deal. Brilliant. England, how do they fare in that group?
I think they'll be very, very pleased. I think Gareth Southgate will he'll sit there. You know, when we look at the makeup of the other groups, I think, you know, that pot two that they've gone into it, there's nothing really that's come out. But I think if you look at that, if you're England, you're coming up against a very good team in Belgium, full of very good individuals who, by and large, you're playing against week in, week out in the Premier League. So I think you know most of them anyhow.
And they'll all be as exhausted as you are. Come June.
You know, I think he'd be very, very pleased. Not just with the group, but the half of the group as well. You know, you look at that and nothing's easy. Roberto Martinez just said it there. It doesn't work like that. But there's a passage through to the quarterfinals, I think, there. And if you can get into the quarterfinals, you've got that momentum going, then anything can happen in a football match.
Do you think Belgium would want to have avoided England?
Probably. But I think from an England point of view, Gareth Southgate is probably like us, you know, prior to the draw today, looking at the different pots and thinking, wouldn't mind that one, wouldn't mind that one. I think what he's got, he couldn't have handpicked it any better.
Yeah. And then on to Group H. Poland.
I just want to say about England.
Go on.
Because Gareth Southgate is interesting, because he will now do the round, he will do the interviews, and he will say this is a great group. But when he goes to bed, put on his pyjamas with the three lions, he will think, can you believe if we get knocked out from this group? Because sometimes it's easier to have one of the great teams.
Yeah.
Some of the great teams. Can you say, we're playing Tunisia, can you imagine we're 1-1? And then we have to go in and beat, and Belgium will ask you. So this is not as easy for a leader as we kind of think.
Okay, as we know from Costa Rica. Poland, Senegal, Colombia and Japan, finally, Group H. Any verdict?
Well, I think Belgium and Poland were probably the weakest of the two. Russia, I forgot, sorry.
Yes.
In Pot A. Senegal are interesting. Got Mane, haven't they, Senegal? I do like him. I think he can have a very good World Cup. He's another one who's got incredible pace, and I think he could be one to watch in this World Cup. And Colombia are always difficult to beat. They always come up with useful players. Colombia and Poland would be my two favourites.
James Rodriguez, who had a fantastic World Cup in 2014 for Colombia, but I think Poland, they will go through just the pure class of Lewandowski. I think they will just get him enough goals to go into that the next stage, where they will meet the England group, which was going to make it a bit interesting. And Senegal, they went to the quarterfinals in 2002, which must be the best achievement of African nation ever, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. In quarterfinals.
I thought so.
Will there be any semi-finals, or have I missed someone? Maybe
no.
not. No, I don't think so.
Ghana did a quarter-final, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
Cameroon and the famous.
Cameroon did. Yeah, exactly. Fascinating. Fascinating.